What a journey this film is, The End of Oak Street. One thing I really loved about this movie was just how simple and straightforward it was. It's going for that whole Spielbergian 80s Amblin family adventure kind of feel, and I think it's easily one of the best films within the past decade or so that has tried to evoke that particular style. Obviously, a lot of people are throwing around Spielberg's name as a reference point, which is fair, especially with J.J. Abrams attached as a producer, but I think the film owes so much more to the spirit of someone like Joe Dante, who is not as big of a name as Spielberg, but he's definitely made films that you've seen. He's made Gremlins, Gremlins 2, Small Soldiers, The Howling, and The Burbs, and so many other movies. I really adore Joe Dante. And one thing that does separate him from someone like Spielberg is that there is an underlying cheekiness to a lot of his films, and there is a ton of that in The End of Oak Street. It's not a comedic film by any stretch, but there are moments where it does allow itself to sit with the absurdity of it all, and occasionally it will throw a very mean-spirited, but still very funny gag at you. The biggest reason that I think this really captures the vibe of a lot of those older family films is that it actually is willing to be very scary and have this sense of danger. It's an 80s family film in the sense that, sure, you could watch it with the whole family if you really wanted to, but I can't guarantee that everyone is going to have a great time with it. There's even one specific moment, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but something happens, and I was thinking to myself, wow, I didn't think they would go there. I wonder how they're going to move forward from this situation. And the moment that that thought was over, something else happens, and I basically did that one Homelander meme. I think everyone's doing really solid work here. I really bought into the family dynamic that's at the center of the story, but Anne Hathaway, though, completely steals the show for me. She has this acting moment that genuinely left me kind of speechless. She's having an argument with Ewan McGregor's character, who plays her husband, by the way, and he reveals that he knows about this manuscript that she's been writing in secret and that he's read it, and she goes into this panic that felt so uncomfortably real. So much so that even the film itself doesn't really linger too much on it. It just kind of lets it happen while the scene continues. And it was such a great, very achingly human moment. I actually wasn't in the best state of mind when I watched this. I was dealing with an allergy flare-up and I had a bit of a headache. And I was pretty much primed to just not have a good time, even if I did like the movie. But I pretty much immediately locked in. I thoroughly enjoyed The End of Oak Street. I love that it's a throwback that doesn't use nostalgia as a crutch. I haven't seen his first film yet, The Myth of the American Sleepover, but I really dug It Follows and Under the Silver Lake, which I actually think is pretty underrated. But it's really nice to see an indie filmmaker like David Robert Mitchell coming into the big budget space and not lose his sense of identity, ambition, and idiosyncrasies as a filmmaker and storyteller. Any issues you might have, I feel like, are kind of inherent to the sort of film that this is, because otherwise, this does everything you'd want a film like this to do without getting into parody territory. It's committed to being very earnest, and I think it's all the better for it. Plus, it's like a little over 90 minutes long, so it'll be over before you know it. So those are my thoughts on The End of Oak Street. If you've seen the film, then feel free to let me know what you thought of it in the comments.